So someone rumored that it was called The Future of Art Education, but I never told anybody that that would be the title of this. So let's augment it to this for a moment, which is a good idea because I'm not getting any younger. And then let's just return to the actual theme and begin from there. Hi, it's a full room, so let's just say thank you for showing up. If you don't like what you hear, we'll refund your money in full. Just take a minute so I can be this way. Okay, this is how it's going to go down. Education is a nice way to look at it, so I'm going to give you a short education on me, and then we'll move through some context, some things that we did, really old idea, defending a system, design complex, our first retail project, and an offer. 33 minutes if we're lucky, let's go. Rick is short. Rick likes to be called Black and is, just so you want to know that. I'm a recently naturalized US citizen, I come from the UK. I was born to some British West Indians, yes. And yes, no mistake that follows it. I'm very clear about this. I do this sometimes, I do this all the time, and believe it or not, up until very recently, this was my situation. I've been teaching for 19, been learning for 45, and I really, really hope this is true. See? We're ahead of schedule. A little bit of context for you guys starts with maybe this image. There we go. So, a really good friend of mine reminded me that it wasn't necessarily true that I got my ethics from my parents. And it's entirely possible that growing up in the Washington, D.C. punk scene, that in the 80s in particular, that there was a sense of ethic there that has translated into my present life. And I gave it some thought and I realized that there was something quite true at the time. In the 80s, if you looked like this, you were ritually abused by other people. And part of what I realized was that I had to be doing the right thing if I was going to look like this. And the burden was incredibly high because I didn't know quite what the right thing was. But I was willing to find out and, of course, be in a process of learning. Not long after that photo was taken, I happened to meet one of the most amazing women ever, an activist, an artist, and a great thinker who helped guide my ethics forward. And I happen to transmit a lot of that to these two young ladies right now. Education is one of my favorite conversations. Hi, Cynthia. Talking about not knowing and the space between is a great privilege. It is about it's about a bridge. When you talk about not knowing something, it is almost the precise formation of what you wish to know. And so, to me, education, and in particular learning, is like one of these wonderful self-fulfilling prophecies. As soon as you can articulate what you want to know, it is there for your grasp. It is an inclusive conversation. It is ready for new thinking. It attracts passionate people, and it attempts to mitigate bigotries, which I think is the most important thing it does. It is cultural, and it is absolutely solvable. Some of the things that we've done over time look like this. In 2010, after an exhibit that was designed for letterpress printing with these gigantic 8-foot tall letter forms, which you can see down here, we took them for a walk in the park and took photos of them, and then realized that the construction of those were really similar to something that was on my mind, but I hadn't realized what it would be yet, and it would be this, which you guys might know this way, this solid type project that we've been selling to museum gift stores around the United States and here in Denver for a while now. It's just funny to watch how things migrate from one idea to the next. You know, like, no one really wants to buy an 8-foot tall ampersand, but they're like a 2-inch tall puzzle, you know? So that worked out pretty well for us, and it was sort of the idea that we could carry some thinking forward instead of just have it stall out where it initially was being purposed. There's work that we do for friends and clients where we do incredible amounts of research. This particular project had us doing research on brain chemistry and memory. We run a letterpress print shop where we oftentimes print things that are they're snapshots of a thought, you know, an idea, and sometimes they can be effective and have long-term repercussions. I've authored definitions of graphic design and even definitions of design. We've made panties before. That was supposed to be very funny. We've made panties before. Okay, thank you. Rough crowd. And then from time to time we author manifestos like the one on the left. And when I travel and give lectures and workshops on letterpress printing, we sometimes produce works for young people that are provocative. Seduction is overrated. Very high standards are sexy. Beauty has substance and purpose, for those of you who aren't letterpress printers who can read backwards and upside down. Every now and then we write books. Okay? 23 minutes left. This is something I did in 2007. It is what it is. It's a curricula sketch for the development of critical visual communication theory and practice degree. It's 5 years long, and it mimics or wants to mimic what we would easily refer to as a liberal arts education. But this attempts to teach design. This attempts to teach young people who go to art school. Now, I know when you go to art school, sometimes you really think you can get away from the English, the comp lit, and the math all in one shot, but I've reintroduced it here in very different ways. This wasn't my first attempt at something in the education field. Several department chairs, some of them present, took me up on the offer to help them teach their students at universities in Colorado. And this came out of observations from curricula around the country about how design was being taught. And this came out of a real interest in getting software sort of out of the story and letting it be incidental, and getting things like religious texts into a discussion about communication history, or getting geography into a conversation about worldview and knowing oneself and others. But this stays a sort of living document for me. It's under the Creative Commons. If you email me, I'll be glad to share it with you, and you can augment it as you see fit. But this is one of my favorite pieces. See, we're just clipping along right now. I want to offer you guys a thought, and that is that it's a little unfair to say that the education system in the United States is broken, because if it were broken, we would all be outliers and we would all be exceptions to the system. And I think that the system isn't broken at all. In fact, it's supposed to be something that is challenged regularly. And the reason why, well, it's because it's ready for new thinking, it's cultural, and it's solvable, as problems would exist. And the reason why it's so important is because it's a fight for what young people will think. It's what young people should know, what all people might possess in information or knowledge in order to communicate with each other and even other cultures. This is what education really is, and I can see why people are passionate about it, and I can see why there's a lot at stake. Imagine that it's also a battlefield for the kind of place that you would live in. It would define the people around you, and it would also define the education level of people who vote in a democracy, in an active democracy. we have to remember that the current education system comes from a place of privilege, and the greatest privilege that was sort of exercised at any given time was that of the church. All churches, any church, you name it, it doesn't really matter right now. But the reputations of schools and churches seem to have a little bit of, well, let's just say they're not quite divorced from each other yet, even the seminaries that would become colleges, etc. And I think that where we are right now in this kind of configuration is looking at this. I think that it's really easy to say yes to learning because it's exactly how we've been hardwired since our creation. Learning is the same act as selecting and learning gene traits in our historic biology. You know, the acquisition of traits that are preferred in different geographic areas, and as a species, our evolution is an act of actual learning. And it's easy to say yes to it. It's also easy to say yes to spirituality because spirituality, instead of the exclusivity of religion, is actually quite open, and it supports the idea that even two people sitting in the same church might actually have a completely different experience, and that's allowable, permissible, even ideal. So back to this notion of education versus learning. This is what I'd like to throw out there. Learning is an exchange. I'll tell you a little bit about my recent commitments. About a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now, I said to my family, I don't want any more stuff. I don't want any more presents. I don't want any more gear, gizmos, whatever. I mean, shortly thereafter, my wife bought me that really cute jacket, and I was like, okay, well, that's a really cute jacket. But I said, this is what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to consider buying me an hour of someone's time who's good at something, who's willing to teach me something. I really didn't care what it was, and I still don't care what it is. So please, any gifts coming up for the holidays, every crazy night of Hanukkah, if you like, I would be happy to take on this gift, which is to learn. The chance to be with someone who loves to share, the chance to give them the opportunity to sharpen what they care about, and to express themselves with a willing and able student. The act of me declaring myself a student is as important as the act of me declaring myself the teacher or master in any given situation, and I like to exchange that from time to time. Allies. Well, the first allies I have are often going to be my students in any given school setting. They don't know, but they're teaching me tons. They don't know, but every time I open my mouth and I tell them what I think, it sharpens exactly who I know I am and how I feel and what I believe in. If you could take a message from me, that'd be really great. That's okay. Other allies are the guys at Soul Crafting. Is Courtney here? Courtney, hi, love. These guys do something pretty interesting. They get creatives to share what they do, and they get creatives who want to learn, and non-creatives even, for whatever that means. But they get people who want to learn hooked up with people who want to teach. And this is, again, I think, an idea around surplus, demand, market-driven concepts and forces that say, well, if I can borrow a person and their knowledge for a little while, I'd like to rent them for what they know. People willing to be rented, because I'm willing to be rented too. This is a good idea. And then my hope. You know, my sincere hope around this is that we actually do find a way to recognize that the knowledge economy probably started 2,400 years ago. And the reason why I say that is because the moment that a teacher was given the same value as a master builder or a cobbler, that's when we started having value in knowledge. And this is part of Plato's Republic, 340 BC, or BCE as you might like to say. The knowledge economy is an old thing. We just haven't arrived here. We've been here the whole time. We've been exchanging ideas and knowledge and genes and DNA for a super long time. And it's my hope that we recognize that that's part of how we're wired and part of what we do. So, education can be an exchange too. So let's not demonize the word education. Let's embrace it for a moment. I've got some handouts here. To aid this conversation, I'm going to give you guys, you can just take one, pass it on. I'm going to give you guys a manifesto. We'll get back to it later. And then there's also another document that'll circulate shortly thereafter, which, if you've got the time, I'd really like it if you would fill it out for us. It's a bit of a survey, and I'll tell you what it's all about right now. I don't know if you can see that red text, but it says Design Complex. We are launching a new nonprofit called Design Complex. The idea here is that we will create design solutions for places and people in those places, and we're starting with this place. We're all educators in one way or another. And what we're going to do with Design Complex is take up an office in our brand new retail project in Rhino called Y'all Scream. Y'all Scream is, in fact, I don't know if you guys know this, but it's in fact a favorite project because it has ice cream and learning involved. The learning part is brought to the table by Design Complex, and the ice cream is brought to you by a Taylor 713 machine of soft serve variety. We've been making ice cream flavors now for 3 months. Peanut butter, butterscotch, chai, grapefruit, green tea, pumpkin pie, lemon curd, ginger. They're all absolutely verifiably delicious. Andrew Novak might be able to talk to the ice cream. Thank you. It's just reciprocal shout out. And this is where we are. We're located directly between a small print shop and our mutual friend Malt and Brew. And for the last 3 months, we've been doing floats with beer, as well as with sodas, but we've been serving to friends and family and anyone who likes ice cream for a little while now, and we're almost ready to go. We are putting our launch date as Groundhog Day. So whether spring happens or not, it's game on for us. But if you don't know where this is, it's 2826 Larimer Street. Monday. Sign up to be a volunteer, share a list, bring someone else's kid, you get $1 off your ice cream. No questions asked. Tuesday, sign up to be a volunteer, make a suggestion or request, or ask a question, get $1 off your ice cream. No questions asked. Wednesday, sign up to be a volunteer, answer any question previously posted, and attend a live lesson, $1 off your ice cream. Thursday, sign up to be a volunteer, post an event for the weekend, $1 off your ice cream. And on Fridays, we have a triple-wide happy hour, which is basically 3 times or the time to get your homework done on 3 to 6 p.m. And during that happy hour, you get $1 off your ice cream. On Saturdays and Sundays, any live lesson participation, you get $1 off your ice cream. Are you getting a theme here? We want you to show up, we want you to get involved, and we want to give you $1 off your ice cream. The guy who pays full price for the ice cream is a total sucker. This is what we're doing. I don't know if you can see this, but we have programs that are planned to be quarterly, monthly, and daily. On the quarterly side, we have financial education workshops for the neighborhood. Anybody who wants to learn about retirement programs, anyone that wants to learn about savings programs, how money works, compound interest, any of that shit, bring it on. We're going to teach you all about it. Doesn't matter how old you are. Everyone that works full-time at Y'all Scream gets a matching IRA. Minor car repair workshops. This includes oil changes, brake changes, and flat tire repair jump starts, how not to blow up your car or arc the battery. These are also free. These are also quarterly. There'll be a public speaking workshop for anybody who wants to learn how to do public speaking. We have plenty of public speakers who want to help. Movie night is a monthly function. There's a film theory discussion group that starts at 9 p.m. Punk playlist, music appreciation night happens monthly as well, just in case you like that kind of music. I do. And then free neighborhood yoga. If you're in the neighborhood, if you want to learn about yoga, no intimidation factors, do it in jeans, we really don't care. Just come and relax for a minute. That will happen monthly as well. And on the daily side of things, we've got happy hour for homework assistants, 3 to 5 p.m. What we're trying to do here is make a safe place for learning. This handout that you're going to get is the absolute opportunity to tell us who you are, what you want to do, and if you can help us out. If everyone is equipped to teach and learn, then this is the way that you let us know that you'd like to help us teach or learn. It's education I can't stand, but it's learning I love. When you get a chance, sign up to share. I'm available for questions. We can chat some more. I don't know, reduce confusion over this very, very quick presentation. So thank you so much. Yeah, we'll do a Q&A. Try and get people out of here by 10 o'clock so you don't miss most of your day. Hi, Cynthia. Yes.
Really curious about that.
That's a Laurie Anderson reference, of course. Sorry, the of course part was really silly. The reason why I call it like that is because I think most people don't know quite how to use it or how to understand language, but they use it anyway. It's clumsy at best, so as we approach things with only what we know, and until we know more, we'll only approach it with just that much. So it's sort of like, as long as an alien looks like me, I can totally talk to an alien, but the minute an alien doesn't look like me, I'm kind of confused. That's the reference point. Did that answer your question? I don't know. Did it? Okay, cool. Okay, we done? Let me off the hook. Yeah? Okay. I feel, oh, okay, question. I think people want to learn. I think that the problems that exist around education is this, that education is done on an institutional level, and much like with churches and priests, there's someone there to mediate the relationship between you and God or you and the lesson, and so that's not always necessary. Learning is all around us, and I think that we're getting more in touch with the idea that we can teach each other a thing. Like this moment right now is founded on that principle. All other moments from this can also share the same idea. I think it's catching on. I think that speaking formats have told us this for a few years now, that the Pacha and TED and so on and so forth. I'm here to say that it's real. We can do it without the stage. We can do it without the mic. We can do it because we care about each other, and we can also do it from an exchange perspective, meaning I'm sure there's someone who knows how to play the bass guitar really well, who could be talked into teaching it to me if they wanted a fundamental lesson on typography, if they were interested in how to use their font menu better, you know? So I think that there's an exchange opportunity there all the time. I have my own sort of calculus for it, but I think everyone has something that they want to get after. Hi, Tara. So I've got a project for your 19th event over here. We're gonna kick some butt. One of the reasons why I try and couch the conversation as it's not broken is because it's popular to say that education on various levels is broken, and that people approach it from a overhaul sort of perspective. I think state institutions or even citywide institutions could adopt a notion of improvement, continuous improvement, and the opportunity for people to chime in to create that culture of continuous improvement. It just strikes me as sort of disingenuous to say that like what we had and what we worked with for so long is completely and thoroughly broken, and even the mechanics, like the human mechanics behind it, are no good. Just because we like computers doesn't mean we don't like people, you know? And I think that there's just a lot of beautiful thinking that went into the construction of that system. So not throwing things away would be a really great start. Being open to opportunities of human interaction and not being afraid of like sort of the labor that's involved in education, the idea that we learn from each other better than we learn from a book or iPad. Yes? The principle there is that, you know, happy hour is 3 to 5, and so kids get out of school anywhere from 1:45 till, you know, 5 minutes to 3 or whatever in DPS. You can come straight to the ice cream shop and get the homework done. From 3 to 5, there will be a bunch of adults there and a bunch of other kids there who would be sort of geared towards helping each other or helping the young people in the room. Why? Well, because if you get the homework done before dinner time, you can get a little bit of TV time in. Why else? But it's also about getting it done quickly, getting it done in the community, and doing it while maybe there's a couple of daylight hours left. I think it's the root. Kids like ice cream, kids want to do homework, give them both, you know? And it's also, it's in a neighborhood that's changing pretty dramatically. I want the neighborhood as it is to know that there are resources there. I want the neighborhood as it is to know that it can grow, change, and move forward with everyone else who's in that neighborhood. So whether it's getting the homework done or getting a lesson on financial education, I'm completely flexible about that. I just want the neighborhood not to pivot into something homogeneous, you know? I don't want it to pivot into something that's just about the people who can afford to be there, and that all the people who have already been there for decades and decades can't afford to be there anymore. So I'm gonna make sure that they have some subsidized ice cream. Oh, and some lessons and stuff. Okay, I'm around. I mean, obviously, I'm not going very far from Denver, but thanks for your attention today. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you can carry it forward with me.